we are going to do the exam 3 review. I noticed that there was some blanks on the review that I kind of worded differently on the test, so we'll change those today so that you could really see how to answer everything correctly. A lot of problems, they're like multi-step problems and they really build on each other. So I'll try to explain that. Just make sure that you round appropriately. Like the majority of this test can be done by just picking up your calculator. So what I recommend is like really putting the formulas and plugging everything in, just in case your answer is incorrect. I can look and see that, well, you plugged it into the formula right. So maybe it's just like calculator problem or something simple like that. Goodness gracious. Okay, so the first 4 problems on the test are very similar to the first 4 problems here, but they're in a table. And so one, you answer the I, and then the P, and then the R, and the T, and like those are the blanks. And there's a little bit of work underneath it to solve the problems, and then you'll just fill in the blanks. That's one, probably the only big difference from the review and the actual test itself. In this class, we have more than enough time for me to do every single problem, so that's what we're gonna do, okay? So, for problem 1, 2, 3, and 4, the directions say determine the missing value. Round to 2 decimal places, and then y'all, even on the test, I give you this right here, which is all the variations of the simple interest formula, so that you don't have to do any algebra to move things around. You literally just plug it in, and then there's your answer. Round if needed, right? Right here, if you notice, it says for time, round to the nearest year, okay? So pay attention to all of the dark, like bolded directions, because they're going to tell you what formula to use, and it's going to tell you how to round it every single problem. I even include the formulas on each problem so that there's no question. This is usually the highest scoring test, so my hope is that it stays that way, okay? For problem 1, it says we have a principal of 1900, a rate of 2.5%, a time of 3, that would be years, and then for our I, our interest, it is blank. It's a question mark. So we need to use a formula that's solved for I, which is that first one. That is actually I equals P RT. And I am going to plug everything in, making sure to convert my rate into a decimal. I can go ahead and do that first, so it's already done. My rate here is 2.1/2%, which if I convert that 1/2 into a decimal, it would be 2.5, but that's still a percent. That blue's a lot lighter than I thought it was. That's still a percent. And so I would actually need to now convert that into a decimal, which would end up being 0.025. That's what gets plugged in to my formula, is the 0.025, okay? So let's do that. I equals principal 1900, you open parentheses, we do our rate, which is 0.025, close your parentheses, and then open parentheses again to put your T, which is your time, which was 3, and then I have I equals, you just grab your calculator, and good practice just to clear it every single time you open it up. We're going to do 1900, open, we do 0.025, close, open, 3. If you did the multiplicative, like the multiplication symbol, that's fine. I just write the parentheses, and so I put the parentheses in the calculator. They're both the same thing. Okay, so once I put all that into my calculator, what it gives me is a dollar amount of $142, and it says 0.5. My directions told me to round to 2 decimal places so that my answer is like just completely 100% correct. I would be sure to add the 0 after the 5. They mean the exact same thing, but this is more in forms of like money. And so that's $142.50, the interest. And then that's it for that problem. You move on to the next. Okay. And I noticed that for problem 2, I want to keep the thing here. For problem 2, I have a principal, a time, an interest, but I don't have a rate. So I need to use the formula that's solved for R, which is the 1, 2, third one. And that formula is R equals interest divided by principal times time. I have it written up there. Okay, and so it is R equals, I'm going to start with that fraction bar. My interest is $141.60. And then in the denominator, principal times time, my principal is 1,475 times time of 4 years. And y'all, this little arrow right here just means I've run out of room and I'm going to begin working right here. Okay, so I have rate equals, let's use our calculator. I always clear. This fraction, I'm going to do the N over D button first, just so that I can get a numerator and a denominator. I do 141 and 60. I go down with my cursor, and I do 1475. I open parentheses and multiply that times 4. And then I hit enter. So right here I have my rate is 0.024, but that is a decimal. And rate is always in percent when it's in a problem. And we convert it to a decimal to work with it in our formula. So that means if I'm answering a problem for rate, what I need to do is to convert this back to a percent, which would be moving the decimal 2 times to the right, or you could multiply it by 100. Okay, either move it 2 times to the right, that's your new decimal, I'm no longer using that one, or multiply it to 100 and you get 2.4. And like I said, rate is always a percent, right? It's an interest rate as a percent. So for your answer to be completely 100% correct, be sure to add that percent symbol. Okay? Okay, let's do problem 3. Problem 3, I have a rate, a time, an interest, but I don't have a principal. So I look up at all of my different formulas and I pick the one that solves for principal, which would be P equals. And it is P equals the interest divided by rate times time. And then I plug everything in. P equals, start with your fraction bar. Your interest is $24. So you just do 24 in your numerator. And then your rate here is 8%. 8% as a decimal. So if your rate is 8%, but as a decimal, that would actually be 0.08. And you could get that by dividing by 100, or you just move the decimal 2 times to the left. So I have 0.08 times my time. Okay, what's my time? Here it's given to me in months, right? So I don't want to put months into my formula. I want it to be in terms of years. So what I do, it's 3 months divided by 12 months. If you put that into your calculator, you're gonna, like if you just do 3 divided by 12, right? You're gonna get 0.75. Because, no, I'm sorry, that's another problem. Not this problem, you don't get that. That's another problem. If you do 3 divided by 12, you actually get a quarter. And that's because 3 months is 1/4 of a year. Okay, so 0.25. That's what I use for my time. In a little bit, we're gonna see 9 months, and it becomes 0.75. Okay, so that 0.25, that's my time. I do 0.25, and I close it. And what I do is I grab my calculator. I start with the N over D. I do 24. I go down to the denominator. I do 0.08 open times that 0.25. And what I get is 1,200. It is money. It did say to round to 2 decimal places. So, I mean, I would accept either. But if you did the 0.00 at the end, that just makes it even more correct. And then obviously your $sign, because again, it's money. Okay. Okay, let's do the 4th problem. For the 4th problem, I have a principal, I have a rate, I have interest, but I don't have time. So I need to use the formula that's solved for t, which up there is going to be the fourth one. And that formula is t equals, it's your interest divided by your principal times your rate. So t equals fraction, and then let me look. My interest is $144.45, so 144 and 45. In the denominator, your principal is 963 and 3 cents. And then I multiply that to my rate. Here I have a rate of 2.5%, and so that actually is going to equal 0.025 for my percent as a decimal. That 0.025, that's what I use in my formula. And then I grab my calculator, clear, fraction, 144 and 45. I go down into the denominator and I type 963 and 3 cents, open, and I'm going to multiply it by 0.025. Okay, if you leave out that 0, you actually multiply it by a quarter and your amount will be wrong. You could do these problems twice on the calculator, make sure you get the correct answer. Definitely show your work so I can catch a mistake if you accidentally make one, okay? Whenever you hit enter, I get for my time 5.9998. Always just throw out a couple of different numbers. As far as rounding's concerned, I look and it says up here in my directions for time, round to the nearest year. Now, if you round to the nearest year, that's just going to be your nearest whole number, right? And that 5.9, that 9 right there, since it's greater than 5, tells me that 6 is my answer. 6 years is like super great. Perfect answer. Does that make sense? The rounding right there. Just read the directions. Y'all, I put the formula in every single problem. I put directions in every single problem. I try to make it as clear as possible. Okay? Exactly what to use and what to do. So that's how you answer the first 4 problems on our test. Okay? I think there might be 2% change problems on the test. We have 3 on the review. It says find the percent change. The formula that we use is the current amount subtract the original amount, all divided by the original amount, and then all of that multiplied by 100. Round to 2 decimal places if needed. Okay, so I read this and it says on January 1st, really, Juan weighed 280 pounds and decided to diet and exercise. On January 30th, Juan weighed 262 pounds. Determine the percent decrease in Juan's weight from January 1 to June 30. January 1st to June the 30th. So I need to identify what's the current amount. In this case, you could say weight, like what's the current weight, and then what's like the original weight, okay? So currently would be the latest weight, right, that he came in at, which would be at the later month, which would be June, which is 262 pounds, but we could just write 262. That's all I need to put into my little formula. And the original weight that he weighed at the beginning of the year was 280 pounds. Those are my 2 different things that I need to plug into this formula to be able to answer this problem. Okay. I notice that it's a big fraction, so I'm just going to go and throw that up there. And I do current minus original divided by original. So current is 262, subtract original, which is 280, divide by original, which is 280, and then it says to multiply by 100. Now, I know for a fact that I'm finding a decrease. There was something that I taught y'all when we went over this, which was that if you do a percent change and you're finding a decrease, your answer ends up having a negative sign. That's not what you put in your blank, but it is something that can prove to you that you put the numbers in the correct order. Okay, a percent decrease's answer is going to be negative. And so what we do is we grab our calculator, we hit clear a couple of times, grab your calculator, you hit clear a couple of times. Hold on 1 second. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the N over D button. And so your N over D button is the one that is above your 7 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that gives me that fraction. I want to start there. And when I put that numerator in, it's 262, and we subtract from that 280. And then we're going to use our cursor to go down into the denominator, and I have 280. And then I need to multiply this whole fraction by 100. So I need to scoot over with my cursor so that it's blinking like in line with the fraction bar, and I do multiply by 100. Now if you notice, I end up getting an answer that's a fraction. I want a percent change. That's not, a normal way that I'm used to seeing this. And so I need to remember that if I start a problem with pushing the N over D button, it's going to give me the answer as a fraction, but I don't want that. What I want to do is convert it with this button right here above the enter sign into a decimal. That's what I want. Or not, like into a decimal form, not a fraction form. And I'm going to write a few because I know I need a round and I want to be accurate. So I got negative 6.42857. However many you think you need to do. This is more than enough. It told me to round to 2 decimal places. So I start at my decimal and I move 2 times over here to the right. This 2 is the one that I'm trying to figure out. Is it going to stay a 2 or is it going to become a 3? The number next to it is what tells me what to do. 8 is greater than 5, which means my 2 is going to become a 3. So this is actually going to be a negative 6.43. Still not done yet. This is a percent change, right? So I need to make sure I put my percent symbol, but please just remember, your final answer right here in your blank does not include that negative sign. I'm not going to call Jessica and be like, hey, they have that, where's the mouse? It's in my way. They have that purse marked down negative 6.43%. Like that's just that's weird, right? The negative means it's a decrease. Your answer is just this 6.43%, okay? And again, just make sure you add that percent symbol as well because it is a percent change. Okay, everybody good? Yeah? Okay. Moving on. We have 2 more percent changes. For this one right here, it says on February 1, I wonder if on the test I did first and seconds because I don't remember doing this. On February 1, VRBO called to inform you, typo, of a price change for your vacation home. The previous month you booked the home. Typos all over the place, y'all. The previous month you booked the home for $3,456. And now the cost is $2,900. Determine the percent decrease. That decrease, I'd be like, okay, so I want my answer to have that negative sign. Not my final answer, but like when I do my math, because the decrease always has that negative sign. So I need to think. And I'm like, well, what is the current price? What is the original price? Currently, now, right? Now is current. Now, currently, the price is $2,900. And it says the previous month, right? So the original price when I first booked it was $3,456. That's my current and that's my original. So I'm going to put it into my formula. I've got a fraction bar and I know it's going to be multiplied by 100. I start with the current price, which is 2,900, subtract the original, which is 3,456, divide by the original, which is 3,456, and multiply by 100. So that's the complete setup. Putting this on your paper again, if your answer ends up being wrong, I can look and see and just, at least understand where you got your answer from. Worst case scenario, find some partial credit. I clear. I'm going to start with the N over D button, and I do 2,900, subtract 3,456, divide by 3,456. I scoot over with my cursor to the right, and I multiply by 100, and I end up getting a crazy looking fraction, but that's because I hit that N over D button. That's fine. Convert it. Use the button above your enter sign, or symbol or button. It would be a button. Hit that, and it's going to give it to you not in fraction form, which is what we want. I've got negative 16.08796. Throw a few numbers out there because I got to round. I'm rounding to 2 decimal places. That's my 8. I look at the number next to it. That number 7 is greater than 5, which means I need to add 1 to the 8, which makes that a 9. Drop your negative sign and add your percent symbol. The actual decrease in that cost for that vacation home was 16.09%. Okay? Okay. Now this next problem is real life. I remember it was my previous class. I was like, y'all get this calculator, best calculator ever. I love it for this class. I was like, it's like $18, $17.50. It's not much. And then that same day I looked online and it was $29.99. Like literally within 1 month it had jumped up that much. And so I wanted to put it on here. I actually wanted to see what was that price increase. Sorry, y'all. That this calculator had. So let's see. A TI-30XS multi-view calculator. Right here. Was $17.50 on Bamazon. Right? Now they're $29.99. What is the price increase in cost? Okay. So we have current. The word current and the word now, synonyms, $29.99. The original cost before they jacked up the price, $17.50. Second verse, same as the first, just like the other problems. You do current, subtract the original, divide by the original. You're going to multiply that quotient right there by 100 to end up getting the percent change. Clear, clear, clear. N over D. 29.99 minus 1750. Go down, divide by the 1750. Scoot over. Multiply it by 100. Hit enter. I get 71.3714. Which is insane. But that is literally how much that calculator increased in price within 1 month. Okay, rounding to 2 decimal places is the 7. I look at the 1, says to stay. Make sure that you add your percent symbol to the end of your answer just to make it more accurate, because it is an actual percent. Hold on, let me grab this over here. Okay, so for problem 8, I wanted to show y'all on the test. It'll say to use the simple interest formula I equals PRT to find I. Right? I'm telling you what formula to use, and I'm telling you what you're finding. And then it says the word and. So as well as doing that, you're going to find the future value using this formula, and your goal is to find the A. A is future value, A is accumulated amount, A kind of takes on a few different names there. Okay, and then we're going to round 2 decimal places. It is money, so that should make sense. And if you notice, I have 2 blanks. Okay, now you're going to find A after you find I, and you can't find A or the correct A unless you find the correct I. Okay, so we're going to read through our problem. We're going to find the important information to solve this. Okay, so you use a loan program for small businesses to obtain a loan to help expand your vending machine business. You borrow $29,000 for 4 years with a simple interest rate of 1.6%. Okay, well, that's your P, there's your R, and that's your T. You have everything you need to do the simple interest formula and figure out what your rate is that you're going to be charged. So let me do that. My P is 29,000, and then my R It says 1.6%, but I need to convert that to a decimal by moving my decimal 2 times to the left. And then my time, that's the 4 years. So I can plug everything into this formula and figure out what I'm going to get for my interest rate. I'm sorry, for my interest. Like what I'm gonna, not interest rate, but what I'm gonna get charged in interest. So I put the 29,000, I open my parentheses, 0.016, I close, I open, I do my time, which is 4. I grab my calculator. Clear, 29000, open, 0.016, close, open, 4. I get 1,856. The interest that I'm going to be charged for having to borrow this amount of money is $1,856. And then I was just thinking, I know I keep saying if you want to add the 0.00 at the end, that's awesome. If y'all notice, I'm not really good at commas sometimes or the 0.00. If there's no change, there's no change. Okay, so you just putting that in this blank it'll be completely okay. Okay, dollar amount $1,856. That's the interest that I'm charged for having to borrow money at that interest percent, at that rate percent, right, for 4 years. That's half the problem. Okay, now it also told me to use the future value formula. The future value formula is A equals P plus I. That's the accumulated amount, right? That's the total amount of everything. P plus I. I had already originally been given my principal. I just solved for my interest. So all I really have to do is take the P and add the I to get the accumulated amount that will be the total that's repaid after these 4 years. If y'all notice, I already have the $1,856 in my calculator. All you really need to do is hit the plus sign, because that keeps this previous answer and it's going to add to it 29000, hit enter. Your A, the future value or the accumulated amount that's collected at the end of this 4 years, is going to be $30,856. That is the second part of this problem. And there are a lot of problems that have little 2-part steps like this. Like quite honestly, the majority of them, if you don't get the first part correct, your second chunk of the answer also isn't correct. Okay? But that is going to be how we solve a problem like that. We have 2 more just like that, y'all. What did I do? Okay, this one's very, very, very much like problem 8. The only thing is the numbers change. Okay, so it says $15,000 is borrowed for 2 years with a rate of 2.1%. What is the total repayment after 2 years? And I know that it seems as if it's only asking for the A, but I think I did make it clear in the directions. And honestly, y'all, the fact that it has an I blank here and an A blank here, it wants both. Okay, so 15,000 is borrowed, 2 years, rate of 2.1%. P is 15000. Looks like my T is 2. And my rate, 2.1% as a decimal, is 0.021. And I'm going to plug everything into the I equals PRT formula. So I equals 15000, open, 0.021, close, open, 2. And you grab your calculator and we figure out what the interest is. If you put this into your calculator, you should get an interest of $630. This is the answer to your first blank. You're going to be charged $630 for having to borrow $15,000 for 2 years at a 2.1%. Y'all, and that's like a tiny amount too. $15,000 is a pretty penny. But it's such a tiny interest rate right there that you're being charged. Okay? Okay, now let's figure out what my A is. A is going to be found by taking your principal and adding your interest. So A is the 15,000 plus the 630. Right? In the end, the total amount that has to be repaid is what you borrowed and what they charged you. If you put that into your calculator, you should get $15,630. Good? Okay. Another typo. Not you, friend, but your friend borrowed $3,000 from a bank for 9 months. Another friend was co-signer on the personal note. The bank collected 4.5 simple interest on the date of maturity. Okay, so I need to identify what all of these are, and then I can use the exact same process on the previous problems because it's under the same directions. Okay, don't not see directions and then think you don't know what to do. Okay, it's going to be whatever the directions were that were before it. So my P, or the principal, the initial amount that was borrowed, was $3,000. It looks like my rate is, so here we go, 4 1/2, which is 4.5, but that's still a percent. So if we change that, it'd be 0.045. A little bit of converting right there. Okay, turn that fraction into a decimal, which is a half, which is 0.5. But I haven't done anything with it being a percent. So I need to go ahead and move that decimal to turn it into an actual decimal form. Okay, that's your rate. And then the time comes from the 9 months. Okay, well, I want time in years. I don't want time in months. So the way I'm going to figure out what the answer is in years is to take your 9 months, divide it by the number of months in a year, which is 12. When you put that into your calculator, you should get 0.75, because 9 months is like 3/4, right? Or 0.75 of 12 months. That's what you put into your formula, into solving this problem correctly. Okay. So I equals 3000, open 0.045, close, open 0.75. If you plug all of that into your calculator, what I end up getting for the simple interest is $101.25. That right there is the answer to the first part of this question. So you would put that amount in this blank. And then we could also solve for the future value. Okay, the future value, or the accumulated amount, is taken by adding the principal and the interest. Principal was $3,000, and the interest is 101.25. If you add those up, you end up getting $3,101.25. So you couldn't accurately figure out the answer to part A without understanding that you're using the simple interest formula to figure out your answer to the I. Okay, I for interest, A for accumulated amount or future value. Everybody good? Okay. Okay. I see like bolded directions here, so I'm going to read them before I work on the problems. Use the compound interest formula to compute the total amount accumulated and the interest earned. Round to 2 decimal places. I don't have the test with me. There's a possibility that this might also want an I and an A, because the I is the interest and A is like the actual amount accumulated, or it could just be a blank. If it's just a blank, just give me the answer you get when you plug it into this formula. Okay, and it even tells you what formula and it tells you to round to 2 decimal places. So for problem 11, I noticed that I have $1,000 for 3 years at 8% compounded semi-annually. Those are all the different hints for the values of all of my different variables except for A. My P, or my principal, is $1,000. And then I see T next, which is 3 for 3 years. My R is my rate. 8% is 0.08. And then N is the number of compounds. On your little note card, I would have all the different N's that your N can be. Because like annually is 1, semi-annually 2, quarterly 4, weekly 52. Like you need to know what number would go there based off of what you're given. Here, semi-annually is 2. And then I'm going to plug it into the formula. My accumulated amount is going to be equal to 1,000 times 1 plus 0.08. And then in the formula, I've got an N right here in the denominator. My N is 2. Close it, raise it to the NT power. N is 2, T is 3. And then grab your calculator. So much calculator work, y'all. Okay, A equal, let's see. I turn it on, bottom left, clear, clear, clear. I do 1, 0, 0, 0, open. 1 plus, that's a fraction, so I do the N over D button. I have 0.08, and if I go down to the denominator, I have a 2. I scoot over, close. I need to raise it with the caret, which is the button above x squared. And I'm raising it to 2 times 3. And then I hit enter. Okay, and it tells me that the accumulated amount is 1, 2, 6, 5, and 3, 1, 9, 0. I did that because I know I need a round. You can round in your head, it's not a problem. Just show as much work as you can. I need to see what happens to my 1. The 9 is right next to it. 9 is greater than 5. And so what I do is I add 1 to the 1, which makes that 1 a 2. $1,265.32 goes right here in this blank. I need to stand up. Okay. Let me do the second problem. Second problem, same directions. I just need to identify what my different parts are and plug it into this formula. Okay. I'm going to change it to blue. I notice that I have $1,000 at 3 years, 8% compounded quarterly. So my P's the same, my T's the same, my rate's the same, but instead of it being compounded semi-annually, it's compounded quarterly. So that's why I said have those different N's for the number of compounds on your note card for the test. My P is $1,000. My T, 3 years. My R is still 0.08. And my N, when you see quarterly, what you should think of is quarters, right? And it takes 4 quarters to make $1. And your N, when something is compounded quarterly, is 4. And so what we're going to do is we're going to write this down on the piece of paper and we're going to plug it into our calculator. Okay, so here I have A is equal to 1,000, open, 1 plus the fraction of 0.08 over my N, which is 4. I close and I raise it to the N times T power, which would be 4 times 3. And then y'all, since this is a review, I just wanted to show y'all, nothing changes in this problem except for your N, right? Hi. Nothing changes in this problem except for your N. And if you notice, since I have this already entered into my calculator, You have the ability with this calculator to use your cursor and go up and highlight that whole entire formula, right? I'm not saying this would happen on the test, but for right now, why enter it again, whatever? All we have to do is change what number, right? Do you see how it's highlighted? Push enter, and it pastes it, right? That kind of was like copying it, and then here it pasted it. Look right here. Do you see the only thing that changed was the 2 in this little denominator and the 2 in the exponent, and then right here, right? So why don't I just go and I highlight that 2 and change it to a 4, and highlight that 2 and change it to a 4, and then hit enter. And so, you know what I mean? If you see a little shortcut or something, you could do that, especially on your homework. That'd be a good little shortcut there in case some things change. So I notice that what I'm given is 1, 2, 6, 8, and 2, 4, 1, 7, 9, 5. I just wrote a few numbers there because I know I need to round and I want it to be accurate. I'm going to round to the 100th place, or 2 decimals. So I look at the 4, 1 tells me to stay. So my final answer is $1,268.24. Make sure that you put it into the blank, or obviously there's no points for that because your blank is blank. That makes sense, y'all? Okay. 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 Problem 13, there's no new bold directions above it, so it's still doing the exact same formula, which is that compound interest formula. And we just need to identify the different parts. I've got $4,500 for 2 years at 6% compounded monthly. So my P, my principal, 4,500. I've got a time of 2. I've got a rate of 0.06. And then my N is what? It's monthly, 12 months in a year, okay? And we just plug it into the formula. I have A equals my P, which is 4500 open, 1 plus, we have our fraction with the rate in the numerator and our N in the denominator, and then we raise it to the N times T power. And then all of that goes into your calculator, the exact same way that it looks, which is why I think I'm like in love with this calculator. Okay, and then good practice, just clear. 4500 open, 1 plus, it's a fraction, so I need to do the N over D button, so it gives me a numerator and a denominator. I have 0.06, I go down. To enter 12, I go over. I need to close it. If you don't close it, all it does is add the exponent to this fraction, and it'll give you the wrong answer. So make sure you close it right above that 9 is where you see that parenthesis. Push your caret, and then we're going to raise it to the 12 times 2 power. And what I end up getting is, I'm looking at my key just to double check and make sure I don't make any mistakes. Okay, what I end up getting for my A is 5072.21899. I need to round this because it's money. If I round it to the second decimal place, I look at the third number. 8 is greater than 5, which means I need to add 1 to my 1, and that changes that to a 2. $5,072.22. If anyone has any questions with the calculators or where I'm getting these numbers from or anything, just make sure y'all let me know, okay? Okay. We're going to do problem 14. I see new directions. I'm going to make sure I read them. Okay, it says determine the amount redeemed when a certificate of deposit is cashed out. Round to 2 decimal places if needed. That's the exact same formula I've been doing, right? And I wanted to include the formulas on the problems because sometimes it is confusing that you can use the same formula for different problems and it might not be very clear why, you know? So just to keep that confusion from messing someone up or just getting a bad test grade, I made sure to include it as often as possible. But this one right here, this is the same exact formula that's used to figure out how much money would be cashed out or redeemed at the end of a CD if, say, you get an inheritance and you take it to the bank and you like deposit it in there for so long with, you know, X amount of number of compounds. Okay, and so let's read through this. You receive an inheritance of $14,750. Y'all, that's your P. That's your principal. Okay, 14750. You invested in a 12-year CD, that's your time. That pays 3% interest, that's your rate. Make sure you convert it to a decimal though before you write it over here or put it into your formula. Pays 3% interest compounded monthly, that's your N. Now in in past classes, I wouldn't give them the formula, I would just give them the problem because in my mind, once you see that you have PTRN, the only formula that you have everything for except one variable was this one. And I kind of thought that it would just be clear that's the one they would use. I learned that it's not clear. Okay, so just take advantage of the fact that I'm giving you the formula, okay? I expect everyone to make like 105. Okay? We do A equals 14750 open. 1 plus R over N, so 0.03 divided by N, which is 12, and then raise it to the N times T power, which is 12 times 12. I grab my calculator. I like that you can actually see the calculator in this class in the different colors. Clear, 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 14750 open. 1 plus N over D. Do your R, divide it by your N, and then raise it to your N times T power. I get 21132 and 1131. But this is money, and it told me to round it 2 decimal places. And y'all, this step obviously is like intermediate. How do you say that? Intermediate. If you didn't do this on the test and all you did was just round it, that's fine. The hope, though, is just that you round it correctly, okay? The amount that I'm going to go and redeem from this CD at the end of 12 years is $21,132.11. Everybody get that? Yeah? Okay. And I thought this was funny, but I use a lot of my kids' names in the test and in the exams because I have so many and it's easy to. But yeah, right here, Caden, that's actually my oldest. So Caden is now math class famous. Okay. It says Caden receives $26,500 and deposits into a 6-year CD with an interest compounding quarterly at 7%. What does Caden cash out in 6 years? Exact same information is given to me as the previous problem, just worded slightly different, right? So Caden's receiving $26,500. That's his principal, and that's what he's going to invest. So that's also why it's his principal, okay? And he deposits it into a 6-year, so that's my T, CD with interest compounding quarterly, that's my N. Quarterly is 4 at 7%. That's my R. But you need to make sure that you convert it to a decimal, or it's going to look like he cashed out like, I don't know, a few $1 million. And that right there should be your first hit, that's probably not going to be right. And again, probably I'm going to say this one last time. Show this much work that I'm showing y'all now, so that if your answer here is way jacked up, I can be like, well, they knew where everything was, and I can play around with different numbers in my calculator and be like, oh, they moved the decimal on accident. Oh, they forgot the 0. Oh, this is how you get partial credit. Okay, just the answer blanks, It's right or wrong if there's no work anywhere else, okay? Okay, I'll stop saying that. A equals my P, open, 1 plus my R over my N raised to the N T power. Okay, if I put all this into my calculator, I get, clear, 26500, open, 1 plus my N over D, 0.07, you go down with your cursor, maybe, there we go, and you type the number 4. You're going to scoot over to close that parenthesis, and you're going to do the caret button, which raises you up into the exponential field, and you do 4 times 6, and you hit enter. Okay, so what I get is 40185 and 73384. This is money, and it told me to round to 2 decimal places, so I look at the third number. It is a 3, which is less than 5, which means I don't do anything, I just stay. And so then your final answer is $40,185.73. Good? Okay. Okay. Let's do problem 16, which is next. It says determine the monthly payment for the installment loan. Round to 2 decimal places if needed. Do you see how this kind of is broken up? It says use M equals, and then I've got the formula right here. If that happens on the test, you could just put a little M equals right there. That is your monthly payment. It could just, it's formatting, my margins were small or large, who knows. That is how you're gonna solve. Oh man, I just broke my boot. Sorry. It's like talking to me now. Okay, so that is going to be how you solve for your monthly payment. And it looks really smushed, but whenever I write it down, hopefully it makes sense. This is the, I think, could be the most complicated of all the formulas. So instead of making it very wordy, I believe on the test, I did exactly the way you see it here. I just straight up give you a P, an R, an N, and a T. Because then now what do we got to do? Just plug it into the formula. Put it into your calculator. For partial credit, show your work, okay? Sorry, I want a shirt that says keep calm and show your work. Sorry. Okay, so all I have to do, y'all, is M equals, that's a fraction. Do your fraction bar. Not a straight bar, but whatever. And then we have a P. My P is 700. Open. Okay, R over N. Okay, my R is 6%, which converts to 0.06. N is 12, close. Denominator, 1 minus open 1 plus. It's another N over D for an R over N, and it's the exact same little fraction that's in your numerator. And then you're going to raise this to the negative N times T power. Okay. Now this one right here also you could get a syntax error because you might accidentally hit negative when you mean the subtraction or minus button and vice versa. So let me show you. Clear, clear, clear. Which way is this camera going? Kind of crooked to my left? Okay. Clear, clear, clear. So that is a big fraction with a fraction on the top and a fraction on the bottom. Start with the biggest, hugest fraction. Start with that N over D button immediately. Just like that. And now I have a numerator. I'm going to type everything that's on the top, which is 700, and I open up parentheses, and I've got another little baby fraction. So I need to do N over D again. And I do 0.06. I go down. I type 12. I have to scoot over. If you accidentally forget to close this fraction in your numerator, it messes up the whole problem. So be very careful right there. Okay, close it with the parenthesis that's above your 9. Use your cursor to go down. And what you're going to do is 1, okay, so this is 1 minus open, right? 1 subtract, and then all of this parenthesis stuff. Your minus or your subtract, that's your gray button on the side. Okay, so 1 minus open, 1 plus, I got an n over d because that's a little fraction, and it's the exact same numbers as we have in the numerator. Scoot over to close it, and then we do our caret to go up into the exponential field. And right here, that's not minus 12 times 1. That's a negative 12 times 1. Your negative is down here, next to your decimal and the inner sign. If you mess those up, it tells you syntax error. And it's because one of your signs is wrong. And here's 12, open, 1, close, enter. Okay. Did you get 60 and 24 cents? Tia? 60. 60? 60 and 24? Okay. You looked frustrated there for a second. I didn't know, because I know the calculators are slightly different. So I just want to make sure everything's okay. Okay. So what I get is M equals 60.2465. I did a few because I know I need a round and I want to be accurate. I'm going to round to the hundredths, which is 2 decimal places. I look next door, which is a 6. 6 is greater than 5, which means I need to add 1 to the number that's underlined, right? And so my M is going to equal $60.25. Everybody still good so far? Okay. Sorry, I had to stand up. I felt like I was like falling asleep there. Okay, for 17, exact same problem, just different numbers. And again, it's the more complicated formula, especially depending on your calculator, it could get really complicated. And so I just go ahead and I just give you your variables. I just give you what you need to solve it, okay? So no reason to do anything other than just jump right into putting it into your formula. So we have M equals fraction bar, your P, which is 13,000, open, R over N, that's 0.04 over 12. Don't mess that up, y'all. Close, go down. 1 minus open, 1 plus R over N, which is going to be the same little fraction in your numerator. And then raise that to the negative N times T. So 12 times 3. I always have to add a little bit more of my fraction bar thing because I never make it big enough whenever I do it. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my calculator. I'm going to clear, and I start with my fraction. And I do 13000, open, N over D. 0.04, go down, 12, over, close, down, 1 minus, open, 1 plus, N over D. 0.04 down is 12 right there, over, close. And I'm going to raise it with the caret to a negative 12 times 3. Okay, and what I get, the monthly payment for this installment loan, whatever it was that I ended up, needing to make payments on, I have 383 and 8118. Money, hundredths, underline, look at. 1 tells me to stay. So my payment monthly is $383.81. Good, good, good. Okay. Go down. Okay, I don't know why. I actually went to school with this person, like in 1st grade. Like these random names will just pop into my head when I create things, and I just think it's so funny. Okay, very, very, very random. So, y'all, bold directions, read them. Literally not charging you anything extra to give you all of this free advice within every single direction, okay? I could just say, hey, tell me the finance charge and the monthly payment, and you not really know what you're supposed to do. I tell you how to find it, what to use, and what to do, okay? So, determine the finance charge and the monthly payment. This is something that I do know is slightly different than what you see here on the test. okay? It actually says finance charge and monthly payment. Like there's two blanks there. Okay, whenever I was kind of making room on this review so we could do it in class, I just kind of forgot on a few of these to change the way I wanted the answers, okay? So, determine the finance charge and the monthly payment. It literally says use. Finance charge equals use the APR table. Now, don't get me wrong, you have to remember how I taught you to use that APR table, but I'm telling you exactly what to do to figure out the finance charge. This is the APR table, and it is given to you on the test, okay? So the APR table is right here. Well, how do I use this APR table? That's going to be the first one, right? Annual percent rate, APR. This one down here, that's mortgage. I'm not using that one. Okay, the way I use this, I notice that I've got a number of payments in that first column, and then I guess technically about that second row, I've got all these different rates, right? So that tells me that if I read this problem and I find the number of payments and the rate, I know where to look on this APR table to, you know, just start working on finding my finance charge. Okay, now let's see. This is how I did it. Okay, finance charge. I got two different blanks here. I'm gonna have two different things of work. And monthly payment. Okay, 60 months at 5.5%. I look at my table. 60 months at 5.5%. Do you see that 14.61? This is $14.61 that I get charged for every single $100 that I'm financing. So I'm going to write that. I'm going to write 60 MOS, just, you know, kind of shorthand. 60 months at 5.5 is 14 and 61. That's what I just found by looking at the table. And then understanding that that is an amount of money that I am charged for every single $100 that I finance, I should know what to do next. I need to figure out how many hundreds am I financing, right? Well, let's look at the question again, or the problem. I didn't even read the problem, y'all, because in all honesty, you just need to know certain things, but I'm going to read it right now, okay? Willis Langley is a medical doctor who wishes to purchase a new MRI machine. He'll need $28,500 and decides to finance it, right? He has 60 months payments with a 5.5 APR, okay? So 60 months at 5.5, this is going to be what he's charged for every single 100. The 28,500, how many hundreds are in there? How do I do that? Well, I'm going to take how much he's going to finance to see how many hundreds there are, right? Because it's going to be a finance charge per hundreds. Per means divide. So if you put that into your calculator, you should get 285. That's how many hundreds I'm financing. 285s. 85, that sounded weird. I'm financing 285 hundreds for every single 100. I'm going to get charged $14.61. So does it make sense that what I do here is multiply these two amounts together? That's how many hundreds I have. That's how much I'm going to get charged per 100. So I'm going to take my 285 and I'm going to multiply it to the 1461. In your calculator, what you should get is 4163 and 85 cents. I'm going to, or not me, but he is going to finance $28,500. He's going to get charged, just for having to finance money. He's going to get charged $4,163.85 because it cost him $14.61 for every single $100 that he financed. So that's where that comes from. Okay, that's actually the answer to the first blank. Okay, that's how you answer the first part of this problem. And in all honesty, not answering this first blank correct, there's no way you can answer the second one correctly. okay? So that's finance charge. Look at the APR table. What's the charge per 100? How many hundreds are you financing? Multiply, okay? Monthly payment, what's it say? Monthly payment in the direction says find the TIP and divide by number of payments. What is TIP? TIP is something I'd have written on your little note card. It's the total installment price. Total. When I think of TIP or the total installment price, I think of the total price. If I have to finance this much money and I have to pay this finance charge, my total price, my total out of pocket at the end is going to be what? It's going to be the $28,500 plus the $4,163.85, right? That's the total installment price, and it told me to find that and then divide by the number of payments. So this is kind of how I wrote it because it made sense in my mind. The total installment price is going to be the amount that I have financed plus my finance charge divided by the number of payments. That's how I figure out my monthly payment. Because obviously I got to pay you back what I have financed. And obviously I got to pay you back what you're charging me. And how am I going to pay you back? Oh, we'll add those up and then divide it by the number of payments I'm going to make. So this is the amount you finance plus the finance charge divided by the number of payments. Okay? So you just grab your calculator and you clear everything. You do your fraction bar and you do 28500 plus your finance charge. Okay, that's everything I got to pay. That's the total price that I owe. Now the way I'm going to figure out what do I have to actually have, pulled out of my banking account automatically every single month for the next 60 months is to divide by 60. Okay, so I get 544 and 3975. I smushed it. Money. Second decimal place, the hundredths. Look at the number next to it. Sorry, it's so tiny. Okay, the 7, that is greater than 5. And so it tells me that I actually need to add 1. So I have $544, and if my 7 tells me to round and to add 1 to that 9, that 9 is actually going to become 10, which makes that 3 become 4. Okay, so that's my monthly payment. Okay, $544.40. Does that make sense? It's kind of a lot. You need to know how to look at the table, and you need to know how to figure out your finance charge. And then after you do that, you just add the amount financed with your finance charge and then divide by your number of payments. Okay, this is like real life type of math, so I'm hoping that it does kind of make a little sense. It could get confusing, but definitely ask questions if you have no clue what's going on. 19, 20, 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 problems left. I think I'm gonna actually stop here so I can run to the bathroom. We could take a little 10-minute break, and then whenever we come back, we'll do those remaining 6 problems. And then obviously, if any questions that y'all have, I can answer them before I let y'all go. Okay?